Have you ever felt paralyzed when facing a challenge that seems impossible to overcome? As if you're staring at insurmountable walls in your personal life, career, or even your relationships? Often, the greatest struggles aren't those fought in the visible realm, but in a deeper plane where faith and determination are the true weapons. Throughout history, narratives of epic battles have resonated through the ages, offering not only accounts of conflict, but also valuable lessons about inner strength and belief in a higher power. Stories like Joshua's at Jericho transcend mere historical events, revealing eternal principles about how to face adversity with courage and hope, even when the situation seems unfavorable. Imagine for a moment gigantic walls, an apparently weak army, and an unusual divine order. The saga of Jericho isn't just a biblical tale, but a mirror reflecting our own challenges, our doubts, and our capacity for overcoming. By unraveling the symbols and hidden messages in this ancient narrative, we can find an inspiring guide for our own journeys. Prepare to explore a universe of ancestral wisdom, where faith becomes the master key to open doors that seemed locked forever. Discover how trust in the divine and spiritual perseverance can transform obstacles into stepping stones to success, illuminating the path to victory, even in the most arduous and complex battles of existence. Be ready to be inspired and empowered to face your own Jerichos with a new perspective and unwavering faith. In the whirlwind of modern life, we are constantly bombarded by challenges that test our resilience and faith. Whether it's pressure at work, conflicts in relationships, internal struggles against anxiety, or the search for purpose, we all at some point find ourselves facing seemingly insurmountable walls. This feeling of powerlessness, of being trapped in a cycle of difficulties, is a universal human experience that connects us across time and cultures. Within this context, narratives of spiritual battles emerge as beacons of hope and wisdom. Far from being mere religious tales, these stories represent powerful metaphors about the nature of human overcoming. They invite us to look beyond the tangible, to recognize that many of our greatest struggles are fought in an invisible realm, where faith, perseverance, and inner strength are the true determinants of victory. The story of Joshua at Jericho, for example, is not limited to a historical event of the past. It resonates as an archetype of the human journey in the face of formidable obstacles. Jericho, with its imposing walls, symbolizes the barriers we erect in our own lives, the fears that imprison us, the limiting beliefs that prevent us from moving forward. Understanding the dynamics of this ancient battle offers us a map to decipher and face our own contemporary Jerichos. This content aims to unravel the layers of meaning behind these narratives, extracting practical and inspiring lessons for your daily life. We will explore how faith, trust, and spiritual determination, central elements in these stories, can be applied to transform challenges into opportunities, to find strength in moments of fragility, and to achieve victory even when all seems lost. Imagine, for example, visual representations of the walls of Jericho, contrasting with the faith and determination of the Hebrew people to illustrate the power of belief in the face of the impossible. Prepare for a transformative journey where ancestral knowledge meets the needs of the present, illuminating the path to overcoming and personal growth. Strengthen your spiritual journey now. Subscribe and receive valuable insights to win your internal battles. Participate in our community in the comments, exchange experiences and questions with other seekers. Your voice is essential to enrich our discussions and learn together. Leave your feedback and suggestions, as your opinion is very important for us to continue growing and creating relevant content for you. Let's apply these teachings together and walk towards victory. To understand how spiritual battles can help us, it is crucial to define some practical objectives. First, recognize that many of the walls we face are, in fact, manifestations of internal challenges, such as fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs. Just as Jericho represented a physical barrier to the people of Israel, these internal obstacles prevent us from moving towards our goals and fulfillment. The first step is to identify your personal Jerichos. What are the areas of your life where you feel stagnant or defeated? It could be a conflicting relationship, a persistent financial difficulty, an addiction that imprisons you, or the constant feeling of a lack of purpose. Naming these challenges is the beginning of the journey to overcome them. Next, seek inspiration in stories like Joshua's. Observe the divine strategy, which prioritized faith and obedience instead of brute force. Realize that the march around the city, seemingly meaningless, symbolized constancy, discipline, and trust in the greater plan. Thus, for your own Jerichos, define daily spiritual marches. Prayer, meditation, positive affirmations, or the search for wisdom in inspiring texts. In addition, learn from the importance of community in the story of Jericho. The people of Israel marched together, supporting each other. Seek support in your community, share your challenges with trusted people, and strengthen yourself in support or faith groups. Remember, the spiritual battle does not have to be fought alone. By applying these practical steps, you will begin to realize that even in the face of the greatest walls, faith and persevering action are the keys to victory. In times of global uncertainty, where crises accumulate and the sense of instability intensifies, understanding spiritual battles becomes more urgent than ever. We not only experience external conflicts, but also face a whirlwind of internal challenges, increasing anxiety, information overload, social polarization, and a relentless search for meaning amidst the chaos. These modern walls imprison us, undermine our energy, and distance us from our inner peace. The central problem lies in our limited approach to challenges. We often seek solutions only on the material or rational plane, neglecting the spiritual dimension that permeates our struggles. We ignore that many of the battles we fight are, in essence, spiritual, internal conflicts of faith, hope, purpose, and resilience. This gap in understanding leaves us vulnerable and disoriented, unable to access crucial internal resources for overcoming. Imagine the feeling of constant exhaustion, the difficulty in maintaining hope in the face of alarming news, the struggle against negative thoughts that seem to dominate the mind. These are symptoms of spiritual battles fought daily. Just as Joshua needed a divine strategy for Jericho, we urgently need to learn to identify and overcome these invisible struggles that consume us. Mastering the knowledge of spiritual battles is not a luxury, but a pressing necessity. It is the tool that allows us to strengthen our emotional resilience, find purpose amidst adversity, and cultivate unwavering faith, even when the world around us seems to crumble. It is now more than ever that we need to rescue this ancestral wisdom and apply it in our lives, transforming fear into strength and hopelessness into action. To understand the core of spiritual battles, we must initially distinguish the battlefield. While physical wars are fought in visible arenas with tangible weapons and armies, spiritual battles occur on a more subtle plane, the realm of the heart and mind. They are internal struggles against invisible forces, paralyzing doubts, deep-seated fears, limiting beliefs that sabotage our potential, and negative emotions that imprison us. Faith and trust in God emerge as central pillars in this context. It is not a passive faith, but an active belief that drives action and perseverance. Imagine faith as a protective shield against spiritual attacks and trust as the sword that allows us to move forward even in the midst of darkness. The story of Joshua at Jericho precisely illustrates this dynamic. Jericho, with its imposing walls, represents the obstacles that arise in our lives. These walls can be financial problems, health crises, relational conflicts, or even internal barriers, such as procrastination or low self-esteem. The divine strategy for the fall of Jericho did not involve conventional military force, but a series of symbolic and seemingly irrational actions: marching, blowing trumpets, and shouting. Each of these elements has a profound meaning in the context of spiritual battle. The march represents constancy and spiritual discipline. The blowing of trumpets symbolizes the proclamation of faith, and the final shout expresses the release of accumulated trust. Have we ever stopped to think that persistence in prayer, the declaration of positive affirmations, and the expression of our faith can be the weapons to bring down our own walls of Jericho? Just as the people of Israel trusted in the divine strategy, we are invited to trust in a higher power to win our spiritual battles. This does not mean exemption from effort or action, but a partnership between our determination and divine strength. Visualizing diagrams that compare physical versus spiritual weapons, or a flow chart that details the steps of the Battle of Jericho as parallels to the steps of personal overcoming, can further enrich this understanding. Applying the principles of spiritual battles in everyday life may seem challenging, but it is perfectly feasible with practical steps. Imagine that your current Jericho is the procrastination that prevents you from achieving your goals. The daily march, in this case, can be dedicating a fixed time to important tasks, even if motivation is lacking. Start with small blocks of time and gradually increase, cultivating discipline as the people of Israel marched around the city. The trumpets can be your daily positive affirmations. Declare with conviction your goals achieved, visualize success, and strengthen your mind with thoughts of victory. Instead of focusing on the difficulty, proclaim your ability to overcome procrastination. And the shout of faith manifests when you decide to take the first bold step towards your goal, even feeling fear or insecurity. It is that moment of acting, trusting that divine strength drives you. However, challenges will arise. Doubt may whisper that this spiritual strategy does not work. Discouragement may hit when results are slow to appear, and impatience may lead you to give up. In these moments, remember the constancy of the March of Jericho. Seek support from friends, mentors, or faith communities. Celebrate each small victory as a sign of progress and stay focused on faith and perseverance. The spiritual battle is won with discipline, trust, and the consistent application of these principles in every area of life. To deepen our journey into spiritual battles, it is essential to recognize that the final victory often lies in inner transformation, not just in overcoming external obstacles. The advanced strategy focuses on strengthening one's own faith and character, becoming more resilient and aligned with the divine. This implies cultivating spiritual discipline as a lifestyle, not just as a response to crises. Let's take the life of Martin Luther King Jr. as an example. Facing the wall of racial segregation, King not only used faith as a shield, but also as a driving force for a tireless and peaceful struggle. His daily march was the preaching of justice and equality. His trumpets were the inspiring speeches that echoed hope, and his shouts of faith were the acts of civil disobedience that challenged the status quo. King personified the spiritual battle in action, demonstrating that true victory transcends the physical plane and manifests in social and individual transformation. Studies on the resilience of spiritual leaders in moments of great adversity confirm that inner strength, nurtured by faith and constant spiritual practice, is the main factor in overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges and achieving a lasting impact. The spiritual battle, in its essence, is a call to the evolution of the soul, where each Jericho overcome makes us stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Recent studies in the area of the psychology of religion and spirituality confirm the relevance of spiritual battles for integral well-being. Research conducted by authors such as Kenneth Pargament, a reference in spirituality and mental health, demonstrates that faith and religiosity act as important coping resources in the face of adversity. Individuals who cultivate an active spiritual life tend to exhibit greater resilience, reduced levels of anxiety and depression, and a clearer sense of purpose, even in challenging situations. A study from Duke University, published in the Journal of Religion and Health, revealed that patients with chronic diseases who used faith as emotional support showed better adherence to treatment and a lower rate of relapse. This demonstrates that the spiritual dimension is not just an abstract consolation, but a concrete factor that influences physical and mental health. Anecdotally, accounts of people who have overcome addictions, traumas, or serious illnesses often mention faith as a crucial element in the recovery journey. Stories of overcoming in support groups and religious communities illustrate how belief in a higher power and regular spiritual practice can provide the strength needed to break negative cycles and rebuild lives. Statistics from the World Health Organization, WHO, indicate a global increase in cases of anxiety and depression, especially in contexts of crisis and uncertainty. In this scenario, the search for internal and spiritual resources intensifies. Religious communities and spiritual support groups report an increase in demand for their services, highlighting the growing need for tools to deal with the spiritual battles of modern life. Understanding spiritual battles isn't just a matter of personal belief, but a public health necessity. Investing in spiritual resilience through faith, meditative practices, and community support can be an effective strategy for promoting individual and collective well-being in an increasingly complex and challenging world. By acknowledging the validity of these strategies, grounded in evidence and real experiences, we strengthen the message of hope and overcoming that stories of spiritual battles offer. Maybe you're still wondering, does this whole spiritual battle and faith in God thing really apply to my real life? It's natural to have doubts, especially when we're talking about such profound topics. But consider that deep down, we all face personal Jerichos, challenges that seem gigantic and insurmountable. The question isn't whether we'll have battles, but how we'll face them. Studies show that faith, in whatever form it takes for you, is a powerful resilience resource. Remember that Duke study I mentioned? They found that faith even helps in recovering from physical illnesses. That's because faith gives us hope, inner strength, and a sense of greater purpose. It's not magic, but it's like having extra fuel to keep going. And make no mistake, spiritual battle isn't about being passive. Remember the Israelites' march? It was constant action. Applying that practically means having spiritual discipline, praying, meditating, seeking self-knowledge, doing good. It's about strengthening your mind and spirit to act with more clarity and courage in the real world. Mental wellness experts like Dr. Brené Brown reinforce the importance of vulnerability and spiritual connection for building emotional resilience. In other words, the victory isn't just about tearing down walls, but becoming a stronger and more complete person in the process. In summary, we've explored how stories of spiritual battles like Joshua's at Jericho offer valuable guidance for modern life. We recognize that our greatest struggles often take place in the invisible realm of the mind and spirit, and that faith, far from being a passive belief, is an active force that drives us to overcome. We've learned that spiritual discipline, consistently seeking to strengthen our connection with the divine, and unwavering trust are the weapons for tearing down the walls of our own personal Jerichos. The next step is to turn this knowledge into action. Start today by identifying your own walls, those challenges that paralyze you or make you feel powerless. Then define your daily spiritual marches. Set aside time for prayer, meditation, or reflection, Declare positive affirmations about your goals. Seek support in your community and share your struggles and victories. Remember the importance of consistency and faith in every step. By applying these insights, the benefits will manifest in all areas of your life. You'll experience greater resilience in the face of adversity, find inner strength to overcome obstacles, develop more mental clarity and peace of mind, and most importantly, feel a deeper connection with your faith and life's purpose. Victory in spiritual battles isn't just about achieving external goals, but about becoming a stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled person. Now is the time to act. Share these ideas with others who may also benefit from this message of hope and strength. Leave your comments, share your experiences and questions, and let's build a community of support and mutual growth together. Your journey to spiritual victory starts now. As we reflect on the journey we've taken together, unraveling the lessons of spiritual battles, one certainty emerges. The walls of Jericho that rise in our lives are not definitive sentences, but invitations to faith and transformation. Each obstacle, each challenge, carries within it the potential to strengthen us, to draw us closer to the divine, and to reveal the unwavering strength that resides within us. Joshua's story echoes through the ages as a powerful reminder that, even in the face of the seemingly impossible, victory is achieved when we place our trust in the higher power that guides and sustains us. May the message of spiritual battles not be limited to theoretical knowledge, but become an active principle in your journey. May faith and trust in God be your shields and swords, spiritual discipline your constant march, and community your supporting army. Explore the depths of your own spirituality, seek wisdom from various sources, connect with inspiring narratives, and above all, apply these teachings in every battle that life presents to you. Remember, the walls may be high, but faith is even more powerful. Believe, persevere, trust, and march towards victory, for within you resides the strength to tear down any Jericho that rises in your path. Move forward, inspired and strengthened, ready to conquer not only the external walls, but also the internal ones, paving a path of faith, hope, and spiritual triumph.